I'm Rachel Tessman from stampyourartout.com, and today I'd like to share with you some of my outside-the-box ideas that I created with the Sending Good Thoughts July 2022 Paper Pumpkin Kit from Stampin' Up! These kits are automatically delivered to me each month and contain everything that I need to make fun, creative paper crafting cards and projects. This July kit contains supplies for making 9 nautical cards, 3 of 3 different designs. Each kit includes a publication like this one with directions, full color illustrations, details about the kit, and a link to a how-to video so that you can assemble the cards or projects as shown. The kit also includes inks and stamps that can be used again and again even after the consumables are used up. This July kit included a Bermuda Bay colored ink pad and this exclusive stamp set. The kits are a Stampin' Up! Product, so the colors, images, and supplies always coordinate with many other Stampin' Up! Products. I'll be using some of these in the alternate projects I create for you today. You can find the items I used listed below and linked to my online store. You can also look for links for learning more about paper pumpkin kits, starting your subscription through me so I can spoil you with exclusive ideas, gifts, and prizes, joining my Paper Pumpkin fan club on Facebook where you can see even more alternate project ideas shared daily, and if you're watching my video on YouTube, a link to my website where I've shared photos of the projects that you're going to see today. I received a large clear block in my first paper pumpkin kit to use with all my future stamps. That tool and my scissors are all that I'll need for completing my kits as is. But you'll notice that I substitute that block for the ergonomic Stampin' Up! Blocks. I also use the larger version of the ink pad and some additional adhesives such as my Stampin' Seal. You won't need these, but they are available products from Stampin' Up! And they're a bit easier and quicker for me to use while I demonstrate in my video. By the way, if you're looking for ideas for past kits, visit my website at stampyourartout.com, click on Paper Pumpkin in the top menu, and then choose Recent or Older Posts. I've been creating and sharing alternates since March of 2013 when Paper Pumpkin first began. I'm excited to create, so let's get started. For the first card, we're going to do a fun fold. It's going to be a Z-fold card, and we're going to use elements from these pieces here. We're going to be using this layer. We're going to be using this banner, and we're actually going to cut off a portion of it because we want to use every single piece we can when we do paper pumpkin alternates. Everything is valuable. We're going to grab these little birds, the smaller ones, and for these we're going to trim them up a little bit. So let's grab our paper trimmer. This one we're going to cut sort of in half. So there's embossed lines and designs, like you can see the clouds on there, you can see the waves of the water. We're going to cut right above this top little embossed line. So I guess that puts us at about 2 1/8, maybe a little over, maybe a 1/16 of an inch over 2 1/8. We're going to slice right there. The back side of this is going to get some adhesive, but unique adhesive. So I thought what we could do, and you can see I've already cut into this, we're going to cut into the edges of our dimensionals. So this is our dimensional adhesive, and it's foam, and it brings pieces up a little bit higher, so it gives your projects a little bit of dimension, hence the name dimensionals. And I think, yep, this is the top. So we're going to put our dimensional strips right up at the top like this, and you could go the whole length, but you don't need to. In fact, we probably have plenty. You don't need that much. And then we're going to put just regular adhesive. You can use the glue dots in the kit, or if I can get the seal to run, there it goes. Or you can just use like a tape runner like seal. So this is flat and this is up higher. Let's not put adhesive on this yet. Let's trim this piece. We're going to trim 1 1/4 inches off. So you can do it in this direction. Here's the 1 1/4 inches. Or sometimes it's easier to hold when you can use this side of the trimmer. So we're going to go to the 1 1/4 inch mark on this side. And see, now I have more paper to grab onto with my left hand because I'm right-handed. So there we go. We're going to save that for some future project. I'm sure I'll need it. But for now, this is what we need. And we're going to flip it over and we're going to use the white side. I'm going to bring in another colored ink. Now, Bermuda Bay is the ink color that you get with the kit, but we're going to use basic gray just because it's a nice neutral color and because this card does not have any Bermuda Bay in it. It's pretty much a monochromatic card with this bluish color here, which isn't the same blue, right? So, oh, we need to do one more thing before we start stamping, silly me. We need to cut our card base. And we're going to use some extra cardstock. The cardstock color that I'm bringing in is basic white, and it's an 8.5 by 11 sheet. You can get it in regular basic white, or you can get it in thicker basic white, which is what this is, and it's great for cards, like a card base. It's more equivalent to the type of cardstock that you see in the other colors, but our basic white for years and years and years was more on the flimsier side or more flexible. So we now have basic white in a little stiffer format. So we're going to cut in this direction in half at the 5.5 inch mark. So we have 11 inches from here to here, and we're going to cut at 5.5 inches. And that is right here on the trimmer. We can save that other piece for another card. And this time we're going to rotate and we're going to score halfway. So this is 8.5 inches this way. We're going to score at 4.25 inches. We're going to use the light blade for scoring. And I always label my scoring blades with the word score so that I have like a couple trimmers. So that's why I say blades. You really only need one scoring blade. And then we're going to move it to the 2.25 inch, 2.125 inch mark. So that's half of 4.25. So from here to here was 4.25 inches. We're now going to bring it to the 2.125 inch mark, and we're going to score it again. And this is going to be the top portion of our card, and it's going to create the Z. Or, yeah, now it's a Z. This is more of an S. Okay, now we're going to use our bone folder, and that's just an extra fun tool that you might want to invest in if you don't have yet. It just makes the creases a little stronger. You can do other things with bone folders too, but it flattens things out. You can curl things, you can burnish adhesives to make them bond to the cardstock better. It's a nice handy tool. Let's go ahead and adhere this piece down to the bottom. So we're going to peel off the backing, the release paper off of the dimensionals. And we're going to add this right down here like that. And now we're going to grab a couple stamp images. We're going to use this long sentiment sending, oh, what does it say? Sending good thoughts. And this one here that says wishing you all the best. So one is going to act like the outside sentiment, and one will act like the inside, but you'll be able to see both when the card is open. So let's stamp on this piece first. We're going to go ahead and ink up the wishing you all the best, and I'm laying this piece onto my grid paper so that this portion up here is in line with the lines on the grid paper. That way I can pay attention to them when I'm stamping. And the words on here, the best and all, definitely have a flat horizontal look to them. We're going to bring it down as far as we can, but we're going to keep it parallel with the horizontal lines on the grid paper. Okay, we've stamped that piece. We have enough room up here to help tuck it underneath because that's going to attach under like that. But let's go ahead and stamp sending good thoughts on the inside of the card. Now when we do this, we're going to open this up. We're going to lay this piece sort of right here because that's about where it's going to go when the card is closed. And that should give us enough room where we can stamp sending good thoughts off to the right, like so. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and add the wishing you all the best. We're going to put just a little strip of adhesive up here, or you could again use the glue dots that come in the kit. We're going to add that to this paper, and I'm using the grid paper to help my lines stay straight. And we're going to add it about there so we can still read the words like that. And let's just pick it up carefully and check it out to see if it fits. And it does. Great. Let's make sure that it fits by showing those words. Oh, we're gonna move it over a bit. That's why I didn't push it down all the way. I knew there was a reason. We want it maybe over a little bit more. There we go. Okay, so now that that's added to the back side of this, we can go ahead and add adhesive right along the top. And I want you to see something here. It's further out. It extends further out. Can you see that? It extends further out than the rest. So, and now it's stuck. So when I put adhesive along the bottom here, I'm not going to go right to that edge. I'm going to just kind of go maybe a quarter of an inch away from that edge because I don't want to get adhesive exposed on the underside of this. So now we're going to lay it down. So it's got about the same amount of border as our other piece underneath. And I'm looking at the outside edges here and making sure that they're in line with the outside edges of the bottom pieces. Press that down, check to make sure no adhesive is showing through, and we're good to go. Now this is going to prop up, but let's go ahead and put our birds on first. For our birds, we're just going to cut one of these dimensionals in half. If you want to use mini dimensionals from a past kit, or if you want to purchase them in the online store, because we sell mini dimensionals also, then you can do that and you don't have to worry about cutting dimensionals in half. Pull off the backings from those. This one's going to go on the inside of our card like that. And we already have dimensionals under this piece, so to have dimensionals under here is totally fine too. And then this one is going to go right about here. Now, one more thing before we open up the card, we want to embellish it a bit. So we're going to grab iridescent pearls, basic jewels. It's a nice long name. And we're going to use our Take Your Pick tool to add them. And here is our finished card, our first alternate card. And you can see, since it's a Z-fold, and it's got a little raised edge here, you can actually turn it into an easel card. So now we have the ability to see the words on the outside, or on the inside and the outside at the same time. Wishing you all the best, sending good thoughts. You can see the bird also. Such a fun look. So that's our first card. For our second card, I think we're going to use the basic gray ink again, although you totally could use Bermuda Bay for this. We're going to don't tear out. We're going to punch out this banner piece, the smallest bottle, and then we're going to trim with our paper snips straight across to separate the cork from the bottle. And that is actually okay if we have a little bit of black up there. Now we're going to take and punch into this piece. So this is going to be our front layer for our card. We're going to use this card base as is. And we're going to punch into this piece with a punch that is the same shape as the bottle from the kit. You can see it's a perfect match. This is one of Stampin' Up's coordinating products. It's called the Vintage Bottle Punch. And we're going to go ahead and take this layer here, and we're just going to insert the punch until we can't push it anymore. The bottom edge is going to sit flat against the inside. Yeah, maybe about 3/4 of an inch on the right side. And we're going to punch. Now you could use this bottle for something else. And, so save it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to lay this down on here like that. We're going to add some adhesive and place this bottle right on the inside here, like so. Peel that up and away so that when we place this piece on here, it's lined up with the bottle that's already there. So these are our vintage bottle shaker domes, and there's adhesive on this side on the edge and on this side on the edge. So that allows us to adhere it to our cardstock that's going to be the front part, and it also allows us to adhere this portion flat down to the back side. We're going to fill this bottle with the colors that are blue from the For Everything Fancy sequins. Now you get 3 different sets of colors in that pack. And I brought in the blue ones because I thought that these sequins brought out the blue from the bottle a little bit more. Let's stamp this and then set that aside. We're going to stamp Thinking of You on here. So I'm going to remove one of my stamps from my block here. We'll grab our Thinking of You. I like to lay my stamp down on my table and let it kind of relax a little bit before I pick it up with my block. That way I get a straight, it's not curved like this, because photopolymer stamps can kind of curve on themselves if you stick them on the block yourself. Okay, so we have all the stamped pieces done. Let's go ahead and take the adhesive off the front side of this and lay it down, and then hover over the top so that we can pick it up. Perfect. Now what we'll do is peel off the backing. And this is where we have to get a little fancy. So we're going to line it up and we're going to lay it over the top of this bottle. But we're not going to press it completely down. We're going to kind of pull it away a little bit. And then we're going to open up the card right there so that we can spoon in some of the glitter. Okay, so a good generous spoonful. I'm just going to drop that right in there. Maybe we'll do a 1.5. And then we're slowly going to press these two together to seal in all of that fun glitter. Yay! All right, and then the last step is to add this banner. And what I did for my other card, I'm going to do the same thing here. I want it to kind of overlap the bottle. I already made this card ahead of time, sorry. That's what I meant by that. I want it to kind of overlap the bottle a bit, but I don't want it to come all the way to the end here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place it where I want it, and then I'm going to shift it about 1/8 of an inch, turn it over, and give it a trim. And I'm going by the stamping, you know, the sentiment that I stamped on here. I want to make sure that that's in there. And now I'm going to place dimensionals on the back side. And I want to place quite a few because I want to make sure that it's secured and it's not going to move on me. So I'm placing 4. You could do 3. And then we can also give this a little bit of a curl with our bone folder. There it is. There we go. So that when we place this on here and we're lining up this edge with the edge of the inner layer, when we place that on there, then our banner end will naturally kind of come up and over the top of the bottle. Okay, now we need to add our little cork here for the bottle. So I'm just using some multi-purpose liquid glue, which is in a little tiny applicator bottle. It's a fine tip applicator bottle. I love it. Makes it easy to work with. And then we're going to take, actually I probably could have used my fine tip glue for that. I have fine tip glue in these, and I have my multi-purpose liquid glue in these. You can find these, by the way, in my favorites section of my blog at stampyourartout.com. Just go to shop and click on favorites. And I'm going to do, the reason why I chose the fine tip for the next step, and you could have done it under the cork, is because I don't want any tackiness to come through, because we're going to add a few sequins onto the outer area of the bottle. And there we have our second card. Isn't that pretty? This next card is geared more towards kids or someone that's, I don't know, a kid at heart. So we're going to be using the Fresh Freesia or the light purple piece that looks like this, and then obviously this piece and this one. We're going to make a monster card. I haven't done monster cards in a long time with paper pumpkin kits, and I have not finished this one completely. I've only kind of sketched it out, so let's go ahead and start. So we're going to take our Pacific Point cardstock, just because I wanted to use something other than black or white, and we're going to cut it in half at 4 1/4 inches. And then we're going to score at 4 inches from one end and 1 1/2 from the other end. Fold these in like this. Use the bone folder. Give it a good crease. Now this piece is going to get cut into 2. And I've already done it. Actually, we might even use the third piece. We'll see here. I've already done it. I've fussy cut. So I took and cut right along this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th, this 5th scallop, and I did right under the scallop. So you can still see the embossing on this piece here. And then I also cut straight across at this spot here. So right in between. And in fact, I believe I cut it first. So I put it in my trimmer and I cut it at 2 inches. Yep, at 2 inches. And after I cut the 2 inches off, then I was able to fussy cut off this extra piece right here. Fussy cut basically is a term that us card makers use when we grab our scissors and we hand cut. So we've got our 3 pieces here. This piece we'll set aside. I'm also going to take and cut, if I can find my scissors, here it is. I'm going to cut this extra little piece off, okay, because we're not going to see that, and I might want to use that for another project. And so at this point, let's see here, we're going to go like this, or we could actually go the opposite direction, and we could go this way with it. I'll decide in a minute. Yes. And this piece is going to get adhered down here, and this piece is going to get adhered here. Let's see, do I like that look? Or do I like this look better? I decided to go with the scallops this way, opposite of this way. So I like the contrast of the purples. We're going to go ahead and add this to the front of our card. And we're going to tuck this behind first. So we're tucking this little end here with the 3 spots that are short. We're going to tuck that behind like that. And we may even need to add a little bit of adhesive to make sure it's held in place. And then let's get out that glue again. We can use the multi-purpose or the fine tip, but we're just going to add a little bit here and there. And we're going to stick this down all the way to the base of the Pacific Point cardstock top flap, like that. And then this one is going to get adhered here. Now the thing is, we need to also die cut a circle from this piece, and so I'm hoping that this will work. So we're going to go ahead and add, actually what we're going to do, let's do this. So we know we want to have no blue showing. So we're going to mark it on the other side. Yeah, we'll have plenty of room. We're going to mark it on the other side with a pencil so that we know where to cut. And we're going to cut a little above that. So we'll put it in our trimmer so that we have our pencil mark kind of out of sight now, further in or further out that way. And that gave us about the same amount of border that we would have on the sides. So now we can take and adhere this to the bottom section of the card with that border the same on all three sides here, and we're not seeing any of the Pacific Point cardstock. We're also going to double check before we flatten it all the way down that this edge is lined up with the edges on the top purple piece. So we can press it down. So now we're going to create a nose and two eyes. We're using the Stylish Shapes dies. Now, if you're not into die cutting, you haven't brought this out yet, every once in a while I want to give my Paper Pumpkin subscribers a little taste of what you could do if you were to invest in a Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, which die cuts and embosses. It does some really fun stuff with some extra little tools, so you can really personalize your projects. We're going to pull out the smaller of the two machines. This one is definitely more affordable. It's the mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss. It's beautiful, isn't it? We're going to go ahead and set up the platforms. Now we don't need the ones that are colored gray, but we need the white base and we need the two cutting mats. So you're going to place a cutting mat down, and then we're going to take our paper that we trimmed off, and we're going to die cut a portion of that paper. Okay, we're checking, making sure, yep, we don't have our cutting edges off the sides, so that's good. And then I'm also going to die cut a couple white ones here because we're going to flip over the cardstock. Actually, you know what? Let's do that with some extra scrap. You could also find extra scrap from the negative portions. In fact, let's just go ahead and use that from the negative portions of these sheets that come in the kit. So I've got my two clear mats holding the paper and the dies in here. Oops, sorry about that. Got my two clear mats holding the paper and the dies, and the dies are cutting side down against the paper. The white platform is underneath it all. And you just want to keep it steady on there, because if you let go here too early, your dies could move on you. And now what we've got is a die cut white circle and a die cut purple circle. We'll do one more smaller white one. We've got a little bit extra here, right in this space here. Use every bit of your kit. All right, let's line that up again. And in case I forgot to mention, I used the smallest two of the Stylish Shapes dies. Now we're going to grab a tool called a dauber. And I have my daubers associated with each ink pad color. So we're going to open up our Bermuda Bay ink, and I'm just going to show you what it does. So you pounce up and down, and then you can take and make a little circle like that, or you can twist it, or you can twist it lightly. You can take and rub and get kind of a sponged look. So we're gonna make sure that we don't have a lot of ink on here. I'm gonna put the dauber right in the center of my white circle, holding the edge just slightly, and I'm twisting. I'm gonna do that on this one too. So now what I'm creating is a layered look. I've got little eyeballs started here. The last thing that I want to add to the eyeballs is a black pupil, and we're going to bring in the matte black dots for that. Now let's grab our dimensionals and add a couple behind the back side of the nose here. We'll place the nose. This is the nose. We're going to place it so that it kind of covers up part of the mouth opening here, but doesn't really interfere too much in it, because then we can use that. Oh, I think I want to move it. I want it to kind of hold the card shut. We might have to do a little extra creasing here. Could probably even move it lower. Crazy, right? Okay, so there's our monster mouth that keeps closed with the nose. Well, it keeps closed enough. We'll have to just keep on. We'll just keep on doing this for a while. And then we're going to tuck the eyes behind. And I already put these little guys on there. I shouldn't have. So you know what? We're going to use glue. We'll use glue. So we're going to put a little bit of glue back here. And on this one. And we'll tuck them both at the same time so that we can place them evenly behind the nose. This guy looks scared. Does he look too scared? He looks a little depressed, doesn't he? I have one other idea. Let's die cut one more circle. I'm just going to hold that down so you can see it. I'm going to die cut one more circle, and we're going to do that from our purple scrap here. Okay, we're going to do that with the smallest of the circles. And I've cut them in half, and now I'm just going to trim off another, maybe like a 16th or an 1/8 of an inch, I would say, on each one, so that they're about the same size. Yep, that looks good. And these can become eyebrows. So if you really, you don't want your monster to look too alert, you can make him look a little more relaxed. So let's go ahead and glue these on. There we go. He's so cute. Oh my goodness. I love little monsters. See, and it looks like he's talking. Hello there. Okay, now on the inside of the card, and there we have our fun monster card, who is, by the way, wishing you all the best as he dives back into the water. Oh, he's so cute. I thought I'd do a scrapbook page layout for my next project. And so I was playing around with some of the pieces in the kit and came up with these little clusters of images. I thought I would use these card bases cut in half for photo layers and maybe have a special photo layer made from this one where you have a smaller photo so you can still see some of the embossed and speckled background on this layer. This would be the title piece. I looked at the stamps and I thought, I don't know if any of those really work well for a scrapbook page title. So I might just leave that blank, and when I'm ready to add photos to this, I can just handwrite something in there. I've got the couple birdies that are flying. This one's down here. I've got these little strips out here that might be facts about whatever I'm scrapbooking about, and then the bottles right here connected next to some of this beautiful underwater stuff, whatever you call that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this, and I'm going to lay them out onto some 12 by 12 paper and see what inspires me next. So I ended up taking another one of the purple card bases and cutting it in half and using half of it cut in half again to make these two photo mats. So altogether I have 2.5 cards here, plus these 2 layers, the 3 bottles, the 3 birds. And for this, I took and cut a portion off that would have been covered up anyways, and I just stuck it over here just for a little bit of balance. Now I'm needing some things in maybe these 2 areas here, so I'm going to bring in the stamps using the starfish stamp and then the little speckle stamp, and I'm just going to kind of add some little decorations with the color that comes in the kit, the Bermuda Bay. I'm also going to put on a few little droplets of the fine tip glue, because when that dries, it dries clear and it'll look like little water droplets. So I'm strategically placing a dimensional behind just the back end of the bird. I've taped the bottle down, but not taped these down yet because I want to be able to kind of shimmy them out so I can write on them, and then I will glue them down when I know what I want to say. Plus, I love this. I love that they have little holes in them because they're going to look like bullet points when I start writing on these strips. I've also not put any adhesive right behind this edge so that I can place a photo there if I want a larger photo. I'm planning on a smaller one, but I just want to make sure that I have enough room. And that photo will be able to tuck under the bird. You can see where I've stamped little accent pieces. Over here on this side, I've got the bottles tacked down. This one's flat, this one's up on dimensionals, and it's okay where the adhesive goes on that, except for the top part of this bottle. I want to be able to slip this behind here after I've figured out what title piece I want on here. So I'm not going to stick that down yet either. I want to be able to use that. And if anything, these are white strips, so I could always, if I mess up on writing on them or stamping on them later on, I can always just use, white cardstock from my stash. And I'm going to pull my half dimensionals off my birds, and I'll place one bird here and one bird up here. And now we're going to add the fine tip glue. And you can see some dots of glue I've made really big and some I've made super small. I need to allow this to dry. So this last project, I am not so sure if it's going to turn out or not. I've kind of created it halfway with some scraps. So we'll see what happens. But we're going to take this card base, the one that's Bermuda Bay, and we're going to cut it in half. And then we're going to cut it down on one of the halves. We're going to cut it to 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. And then this piece here, we're going to cut down to 5 1/4 by 4. So it's slightly over. We just want to make sure that that will fit inside this layer, which is going to be white, and that looks good. And then it will be mounted onto this piece. So it's going to be a card that's more like a postcard style. It will have a pull on it that you can read a little message on, and then the flip side is where the main message of the card will be. So on a separate piece of cardstock, I just pulled out some basic white cardstock. I stamped the ship and fussy cut around it, and that ship is going to slide along here. So we need to be able to make a little divot. So we're going to stack all of these together, and we're going to grab a punch that has a rounded small section in it. Now you could grab a circle punch, you could grab the dies that we have. You could take one of these dies and just punch a little hole there. Actually, I'd probably use the second one, by the way, about that big. But I'm going to use the cloud punch just because it's quick and easy for me, and I'm going to punch about this far in. So now I've got a little notch on the right side of all of those layers. This layer is going to attach to this layer, so we can do that right now. And we're going to grab one of these strips here. That's going to be the part that we pull. Anyways, we've got that, and we also need just a little scrap of cardstock. So we could take this piece or this piece, pieces that we had left over from our other projects, and we can use one of those. I think I'm going to use this piece here, and we're going to first cut into here. We're going to line it up at the 2.5 inch mark, and we're going to slice. So we've got this edge here, the top edge where the clouds are, at 2.5 inches, and we're going to slice from the 4-inch mark here to the 1.5 inch mark here. And then we're going to shift it, and we're going to bring it to 2 1/8 inches. Actually, you know what? Let's just bring it down to, it's an easier measurement. Let's bring it down to 2. We'll bring it to 2. And then we'll cut from the 4-inch mark over to the 1.5 again. Okay, so we have 2 slits. Now we're going to create that little sliding mechanism because we want our ship to go from here to here. And we're going to use a piece like this in order to make that sliding mechanism. And you know what? Let's just make it like that, just because, well, it won't show anyways, but either way. So now what we've got is the ability to fold over these sections. Now I think it's too large, it's too tall, because what I want to do is I want to fold over one piece and fold over the other one. And we don't necessarily need it to extend off of that section. So let's put a nice crisp crease in there, just under 2 inches. So here's, I'm sorry, just under 1/2 inch. So here's the 1/2 inch mark. We're going to go 1/16 inch in and just give it a score there. And that will allow this piece to kind of fold over easily. And we'll do that one by hand. So we're going to tuck it in here again. Yeah, either way, doesn't matter which side is showing. And then we're going to just fold this one over by hand, and we're going to have those attached to each other. So this is going to be the sliding part that moves the ship. So let's grab some strong adhesive. You could either use the fine tip or you could use the multi-purpose. I think I'm going to use the multi-purpose just because that dries a bit faster. Oh, and I forgot to trim this, didn't I? That's okay. It's on the inside of the card. We won't see it. It's okay if it's a little extra long. Now let's hold that down and let it dry. So I'm still learning. This piece actually happens to be too wide. I want to get it more to like 1/4 inch, I think, or 1/2 inch. This is over 3/4 inch. So we're going to take that out. We're going to grab this piece here and make our own little strip from it. So we're going to cut it to 1/2 inch wide. And then we're going to cut it down to, let's see here, we need 1.5 inches of it. Let's do 1.5 inches. Let's go a little over 1.5 inches. That's what we'll do. And then we're going to score at 1/2 inch. So I'm using the measurements on this side now. And we're actually going to score just under 1/2 inch because we want to be able to wrap it, right? Okay. Now let's try this again. So we've got our piece that will fold over. Yeah. And this one is going to fold over onto this piece like that. And I noticed that I did have it a little snug last time. So I'm going to try not to do it too tight. Just kind of give it a little bit more room there. Okay, let's seal it up now. All right, it has now dried, and I've been experimenting with this to make sure it works. That's why I have some adhesive on there. So this piece is going to slide back and forth and carry the ship. And what we need to do is put it in the furthest to the left position. And then we need to line this up so that we see the banner piece going right to, but not beyond, the edge of the card here. So I'm going to hold it there. I'm going to look. Oops, I have adhesive on it. I'm going to look to make sure that everything looks straight, and then I'm going to put adhesive, which should be lined up with this. That's how I gave you the measurements. We're going to put adhesive on here. Actually, we put it on here. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. We put it on the back side of this, and you can use like, you know, the stickier adhesive or something. I was using Seal, but let's go ahead and use maybe like tear and tape now that I've got some Seal on there. You could use tear and tape, you could use the multi-purpose. I think it's safer to use a tape that you can kind of peel off. So we're going to go ahead and stick that on there. And you can see it grabs right onto that banner piece because of where we cut these little strip guys, okay? So where I cut this was so that this little score line was through the center. You don't even have to measure. You just have to aim your circle or your punch or whatever so that it's lining up, so that this little score line was coming through the middle section of your half circle that you're punching. And then it should work, okay? All right, so now what we're going to do is add some adhesive on the top and the bottom of this because we want that to stay secure. And we don't want it real close to the mechanism that's pulling in and out because we don't want it to get too tight in there. So we'll just add that there. This can now pull out, and it's only going to go so far because this is going to stop it. So we can stamp on this now. We're going to stamp on that with our sentiment piece that fits. And if your Can't Wait to See You fits, you could totally do that. I'm going to do Thinking of You, and I'm going to stamp that with the Bermuda Bay ink. On the back side of this, with it pulled out, we could stamp the other one if we wish. You could fit that one there if you wanted to, or you could just leave it. You can stamp something else on the back side here before we add all that bulk, okay? So Thinking of You, Can't Wait to See You, Thinking of You, Sending Good Thoughts, Thinking of You, Wishing You All the Best. We really have not used that one yet, have we? There we go. Thinking of You, Can't Wait to See You. Okay, we've got that set up. We're going to push that back in. And now we're going to attach our ship. Now you can attach your ship so that it is up on dimensionals, which is what I'm choosing to do, or you can do it flat. But just know that it might cause a little bit more friction. Now when we have it pushed all the way over here, we want our ship to be in the middle, right, of that little dot there. It's going to be in the middle. And when we bring it over here, it should still fit in the middle. So my goal is to aim that dimensional right in the middle of the ship. Now it's a very plain card. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a few little embellishments, maybe like these sequins here, maybe some of the iridescent pearls. Holy moly. Well, that's one way to fill up space. That was fun. Yeah, lots of glitter and glitz on here from the little sequin pack. And I did add a couple of the iridescent pearls. Didn't need to really because there's plenty of fun stuff in here. In fact, there's half pearls in that pack too. It's a fun collection of little embellishments. So Thinking of You, and then on the back side, Can't Wait to See You. All right, I'm going to close up this video and clean up my mess here. Now that you've watched my video, I hope you can see that there is so much more to these kits than meets the eye. With just a few extra supplies and some imagination, you can go beyond and make so much more. Want to give these paper pumpkin kits a try? They're just $23.50 plus tax per month in the US. Shipping is included. You control which months you get your kits, and there's no commitment or obligation. And by clicking on my personalized link below and starting your subscription with me as your demonstrator, you'll have access to my exclusive paper pumpkin project ideas too. Thank you for watching. It builds creativity to think outside the box. To access paper pumpkin kit ideas that I'll share in the future, be sure that you're subscribed to my YouTube channel and my website, because I share even more each month in other special blog posts. In fact, click on my website link below so you can access the visual supply list and view close-up photos of all that I've shared today. I hope you enjoyed this video tutorial. Now I'd like you all to go and stamp your art out. Bye-bye.